Hello, and welcome to the spiritual sanctum of light, a sanctuary of gentle stewardship, a space tended with care, clarity, and a commitment to the interior life. Our ethos is one of stewardship rather than authority, presence rather than persuasion. If you are seeking a spiritual environment that feels grounded, sincere, and quietly luminous, you're welcome here Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., where we have discussions, not lectures or preaching. You can enter our sanctum remotely or you can stop by. Links to get you here can be found at sanctumoflight.org. We are going to continue our exploration of the Keys of Enoch, Key 108, and we're going to look at verse 15, where it is written that Orion must be understood as giving forth the positive sort of light to cut through the magnetic fields of biological limitations. We must understand the Lords of Light form Orion as giving us this consciousness model of the solar sphinx to rise to a newborn creation beyond the negative energy of the immediate magnetic fields. Man must understand why the ancients regarded Orion, the region, and I may be pronouncing this incorrectly, Emsk or Emsk, as the princely region among the stars, as it is said in the pyramid texts. Orion, the father of the gods, has given a certificate of life creation as a greater power. Now, we're not going to look at every aspect of this, but we are going to consider Orion, which is understood to be the male element, initiation, that which is the cause, the act. And it is seen here as the positive sword of light. Now, typically, your swords are double-edged, meaning that they cut both ways. And also that the sword is a representation of what is commonly referred to as the sword of truth or the sword of justice. Its purpose is to cut away the falseness. So this is the positive sword of light. Positive is initiation, whereas negative, now people assume negative is bad. But when you have an electric current, you have a positive and a negative because the current goes out and then the current comes back. It moves back and forth. Again, this reciprocity, this flow. Therefore, negative is not something to be avoided or considered to be evil. Negative is the receptive aspect of this flow. Because if something is initiated, then there must be a completion. If you have a beginning, you must have an end to it. Where the flow is initiated, it moves, and then it is received. You must have these two poles. And the negative, as it is written here, to rise to a newborn creation beyond the negative energy of the magnetic fields. Okay, beyond reception. And the only thing that is beyond reception is integration. When you accept, you integrate. You take it into you. You accept it and it becomes part of you. That's the idea of this positive initiation and this negative energy of immediate magnetic fields. Once it is begun, it must be completed. And when it is completed, the completion process, the culmination, is integration. And in our aspiration to connect with the divine presence, and we should all aspire to connect with the divine presence that resides within us. In our aspiration to connect with the divine presence, with the whole, that is what the divine presence represents. It is the whole. It is the culmination of you, because now you have taken what has been considered to be external, you've made it internal, and through that internal reception there, it begins to reshape you, to take all of the different fragments of you and to bring them together. The reconciliation process is what makes you whole. When you reflect upon all that you have done in the past, and then you contemplate why you did these actions, why certain things occurred, why certain things happened to you, and then through that contemplation you determine what you may have done differently, what you can do differently, because all things, that anything that moves outward again comes inward. So it's a cycle. It's a cycle. So you will again encounter these events of the past. You will encounter them again through this reflection and contemplating process. You are able to act more freely because you can act differently. Instead of reacting, you can act. In our aspiration to connect with the divine presence, with the whole, we must first understand our limitation, which is not a limitation of the body. This is not your limitation. This does not prevent you from experiencing the divine presence. This does not prevent you from experiencing life. It is your limitation of thought that prevents you from experiencing the divine presence. And what I mean by limitation of thought, it's not thinking that you cannot do something. It's not even believing that you can do something. It is believing that this is the path you must follow. We often limit ourselves through the deception of oppression from others and of ourselves. And what is oppression? Or what is it to oppress? It's to hold people back, to hold them down, to prevent them from acting. We do this unknowingly, because if we realized it, maybe we wouldn't do it, but we do this to others in order to assert our authority, in order to assert our vision, our interpretation, no, what you believe is wrong. It must be what I believe, because what I believe is right. And that is the crux of the difficulties that all institutions go through, because they become so large, so full of themselves, that they view themselves as being above, looking down. Why do you think the preachers and ministers are always elevated above the congregation, and you must always look up at them? Why do they stand behind a lectern as though they are lords? Teachers do not need these props. Teachers sit with you in an intimate fashion and share with you. They do not lecture you. They do not instruct you. They speak with you. And the oppression that we impose upon ourselves, oh, we must always do right. We must be good. We must be this. And we fit inside this narrow track. And with this narrow track, we become rigid. We refuse to allow anything new to enter into our frame of thought. And by maintaining this rigid stance, this resistance, we oppress ourselves. And here, where it speaks of the Lords of Light, we must understand the Lords of Light from Orion as giving us this consciousness model of the solar sphinx, of the transmission of information, the flow of information that moves through us, the divine that moves through us. The Lords of Light are the spiritual teachers that provide us with the tools to rise above what we believe ourselves to be, because we have created a ceiling for ourselves. Encountering the divine presence within can be a ceiling, can prevent you from moving forward. Thus, when we do encounter the divine presence within, and we begin to understand the whole, eventually we are going to have to dissolve that divine presence within in order to be immersed within the divine presence. It is all about moving beyond our limitations, because the divine presence can become a limitation. What's the cliche? When you encounter Buddha, you must destroy the Buddha. It is because the Buddha becomes a distraction. The divine presence can become a distraction. So eventually we must dissolve the divine presence within us so that it may fill us. The Lords of Light, true spiritual teachers, teach us to become born into a different life, to enter into a different life. We do not have to be crucified. We do not have to become dead to be reborn. We do have to release those behaviors, those patterns, those we have to step away from that path that led us, well, into an oppressive way of life, into an oppressive experience of life. We must reflect, and through our reflection, we contemplate new avenues, new choices, new methods of responding. We become responsible, accountable. We learn what accountability is. We learn that our actions not only affect ourselves and the person in front of us, but they also affect many around us. Because how the person in front of you responds to what you are speaking or doing, how you are behaving, when they respond to that, they carry that experience with them, and then they share it with others. And through their sharing, thus the ripples of your actions are created. And then you are no longer part of the action. Once you have committed the act, it detaches from you. It grows on its own. So our spiritual teachers, our true spiritual teachers, help us to reflect upon our deeds, to consider what we have done, to aid us in choosing or behaving in a manner that is more conducive to harmony. Because harmony within begets harmony without. And they help us to move beyond this sense of unworthiness that has been bestowed upon us. It is that sense of unworthiness that oppresses us, that prevents us from becoming more, from evolving, from progressing, however you choose to identify it. But it is this sense of unworthiness that oppresses us. And we must work through it. We cannot dismiss it. We must work through it. We must discover the worthiness within us. You have to discover the worthiness within yourself, because you are worthy. But you have to understand why you believe you are unworthy. And when you understand why, then you take that into you, and then you reflect something else out. You discover that it is not that you are unworthy, it is that you do not understand. And with understanding comes worthiness. Your worthiness. You must understand who you are, who you have been, in order that you might ascend. You must engage in the immersion of the divine. You must engage the divine within you, and through that engagement you ascend. these mystical experiences, these are ascensions. And through your ascension, you become empowered to become born anew. You become empowered to become who you truly are. And only you know who you are. Everyone outside of you can only speculate, can only tell you how they interpret you, how they view you, how they see you. As it is said in the pyramid texts, the Father of the gods has given you permission to create, to become a greater power. I want to thank you for allowing me to share this. I hope this gave you something to consider, to think about, to reflect upon, and to contemplate, and perhaps even to integrate within yourself. If you like, take a moment, subscribe, visit our website, sanctumoflight.org. We also have a link there to our Substacks page so that you can explore even more. We also have a Facebook page. There's a link there for that. We typically have daily memes, daily clips of wisdom, thought-provoking pieces from various writings and such. Again, we invite you to join us. And in the meantime, enjoy your experience of life.